Hi, I'm Gracie, and this is Scott with Small Worlds, Big Adventures. And today we're going to be talking about Kickstarter and games.
Some sort of Halloween game?
No Halloween games.
Oh, okay.
That's done for the year.
All right.
And that torture's coming next year. But we have Kickstarted a lot of games. Yep. Currently, our number is at 17.
92.
Not 92. But give it like 2 more years and maybe.
Yeah. 17?
17 backed projects. And we have received 9 backed projects. What that means is the rest are still in production or in some part of that. So while we're maybe not experts, we are experienced.
Yep.
To kick it off, we're going to talk a little bit about the process of Kickstarter games. Normally for me, what happens is Facebook has shown me an ad, and I go, "Oh my God, that art is really, really cute."
Mm-hmm. Yeah.
And then I send it to Scott so he can go through and be like, yeah, this is going to be a good game, or it's not. These game makers can 100% get me on the art. I'll be like, that is cute art. I don't care how the game plays. Let's get it.
Yep.
So I always have to double check it with him. But regardless, you'll happen upon a game that interests you. You'll read through it, make sure it meets what you're expecting or wanting, and then you'll support it at some level.
Yeah.
Now, most games have a level where you can just be like, I really love this idea. I don't need anything. Here's just some money.
Yeah. Just basically a donation.
Exactly. But then a lot will have levels of support where you can get some version of the game or something else.
Pretty commonly, you'll see a donation level, which is like $5 or whatever you want to donate. You'll get a level that is just the basic game that you would purchase off the shelf at your local game shop or maybe Target, maybe Amazon. And then usually there will be one level higher than that, which is almost always called a deluxe version, which will maybe have fancy box art. Usually they'll change the cardboard tokens of the game to wooden tokens. Sometimes you get fancier meeples, like instead of a little wooden guy, you'll get like a plastic 3D printed figure. Sometimes they're fancy card art. Like it's different depending on which game you're looking at. Sometimes you'll have a couple of levels of deluxe versions. That one will add a little bit, and one will add the same stuff, but maybe outside, maybe a book of artwork. Some extra bells and whistles outside of the game. So sometimes it'll be a few levels of different stuff. If the game has been out before or printed before, sometimes I'll have expansions, which will be a different level. So you kind of have to look around and see what price point you want to pay at, because they get more and more expensive.
They do.
and what you feel comfortable purchasing.
Going off of that, a lot of times they will also have like a retailer one where you'll get like 20 versions of the game and you're allowed to sell them.
Right.
That's not us.
Nope.
We never look at that.
Nope.
But if that's you, that's often something that can happen.
If you're running a small game store, it's a good way to get. I shouldn't say that. I don't run a small game store, so I don't know. It seems like a good way to get a rare game that might not show up in other places. Yeah.
So once you have backed it and chosen your level, then you'll essentially wait to see if it hits its goal. Each Kickstarter has a goal of how much they have to hit for it to go into production. Most of the time when I'm backing it, it's already hit that number. I haven't, for a board game, had one not make the mark.
Yeah, the ones that we've looked at have all reached their mark well before the end of the month.
Yeah.
Kickstarter gives them 1 month to hit their target, and we've not run into any that don't. I'm sure there are some really small game companies out there. They probably don't have the cash to like advertise on Facebook, which is where we see most of our games from is from Facebook. Once in a while, we've got a couple that from word of mouth from TikTok or social media or friends or whatever that we've gone to, but most of them are from that. And everyone that we've looked at, that certainly the ones we backed, have all made it no problem.
Yeah. But if it doesn't get backed, then you're out nothing.
Yeah, you don't get charged.
But if it does get backed at the end of the month,
you get charged at the end of that month.
That's when you get charged. Yeah. So keep that in mind. You may be like, oh, I already bought this. You did not.
No.
It's going to come out later.
Yep.
And then as they go through the process of making their board games, they're going to send you updates. They may even ask you to fill out some general surveys, like how did you hear about us, or are you more interested in like this character or this character?
Yeah, you'll want to check your email, sometimes your spam email, depending. Also, a lot of the updates that they do will be on the Kickstarter site. The Kickstarter has a few different tabs for frequently asked questions, and then there's kind of a like a forum tab for people to directly ask questions. Then they have a tab for updates that they'll put. Usually monthly is what we've found, but sometimes more often, sometimes less often. And then there's even an option on there that you can directly send them a question. And we've had pretty good response rate for the few times that we've had to comment there.
And then the most important survey you're going to get is your backer survey. They will send you, and it can come from a variety of sites, but a survey that is like confirming that all you want is what you backed, confirming your address so they can send it to you, and normally giving you the opportunity for extra add-ons. But not always.
Kickstarter works weird, and it wasn't, I guess, designed for this. Essentially, they won't give the producers your email at they won't give them your address basically. They won't give them your credit card information or anything like that. They'll send them the money that you paid Kickstarter, which is good. So the game developers need you to access a separate site so that you can put in exactly what you're ordering from them, how much you paid, what your address is, and then it's a good opportunity for them to go, oh hey, we have an extra set of dice that is fancy. You can now add that onto your thing. Sometimes those things were included in the Kickstarter, sometimes they weren't, so you kind of have to watch and see what you do, but you definitely don't want to miss that. Because if you do,
then you won't get your game.
You won't get your game. You will have paid and not gotten. You will have donated for the game,
which is still a good cause.
It's sure. It's fine. Not so great if you kickstarted something as high as like $150 though. Not so fun then. And full disclosure, we had that happen once. We tried to contact them and they tried to make right.
They were super great.
Only so much on their end that they can kind of do. But try and make sure you don't miss the backer questionnaire or whatever.
Backer survey, I think is what they call it. And then you wait. Now, normally if you filled out the backer survey, it's closer to being done than at the very beginning, but normally they take a year or more.
Yeah, our experience is probably an average of a year from when the Kickstarter either started or ended to when they will ship, depending on the size of the game and kind of where they're at. You've got, it's neat because it's various sizes of companies that are doing this. The games themselves are in various states when they do the Kickstarter. We had one that literally was only a few months just show up. We have one that we kickstarted at the beginning of summer that we probably will wait 2 years before they're done if their timeline is any indication. But about a year is what we're looking at on average. It seems about right.
And after that, you just get really excited when it comes and you play it a million times. Hopefully you liked it.
Hopefully. And they'll have, most companies will have regular updates about once a month. So check your Kickstarter account and go in and look, and they'll have exciting news about where they are at in the process and what they're doing. Sometimes they'll show stuff. A lot of times they'll be at various game conventions, so they'll have maybe some video of people playing the game there. So you can kind of, and a lot of them have Discords now, so you can kind of get on if you want to be part of the community. So there's opportunities there while you're waiting.
And after hearing the process, you may be thinking, why should or shouldn't I do this? And so we're going to break it down for you. We have a little pros and cons list, and then we have some tips.
Sure.
To kick it off, we're going to go ahead and do the cons. One of the first cons is, while they may have pictures and guides and stuff up, you probably not played this, or you haven't seen it. So
a lot of times when they hit the Kickstarter point, they've had a pre-production game. They've put together something, and usually it looks pretty good. It looks pretty professional. A lot of times they will have actually hit up a couple of gaming conventions so that people have played, and there will be comments on the site that they can quote and stuff like that. and there's a good chance that they'll have video of the game being played.
Yeah.
They might have YouTube video of literally how to play. Sometimes they let you download the PDF of the manual so you can read through that. Some of them even have things like PDFs that you can print out cards and stuff and actually play yourself. Had a couple that had a introductory thing on Tabletop Simulator, so you could play a little bit. So definitely dive into that to see if the game feels right for you. Don't just look at the art, and don't just look at the pieces. We've received 9 of our games. Most of them I really enjoy.
Oh, yeah.
One of them is a game that I would not have bought if I'd played it ahead of time. Another one I also probably wouldn't have bought. I don't hate the game, but it's okay. So even if you have a good chance to kind of look at how the game plays, without having played it ahead of time,
it's hard to know.
It's hard to know.
A downside, especially for Scott, is it literally takes forever.
Yeah, you're probably waiting a year before you get your game. I've paid, I've looked at this, I'm excited, and now it's a long wait. I don't like that.
I'm the opposite. I got excited, I looked at it, I bought it, and then I forgot it happened. And hopefully it just shows up. But it does take a long time. And so if you're somebody who wants that like instant gratification, Amazon shipped it overnight.
This may not be for you.
No. Theoretically, it may never actually arrive.
Yeah, that is a
big negative, big con.
A concern with Kickstarter is that there's no guaranteed delivery. If for some reason the money they got was not enough to actually produce the game, the game doesn't get produced and you're out your money.
If they hit like a production issue and like it costs way more than they got and they can't sustain it, it could be something like that.
Now, we have not experienced that at all.
Not at once.
And I mean, we're kind of in some communities for games and stuff like that. I've honestly not heard of, certainly not recently, any board games having that problem. By the time they get to Kickstarter, they usually have a production model. They've usually played it a few times. They know how much it's going to cost to produce that, and that'll be baked into their Kickstarter, so that if the Kickstarter runs, almost always they're going to run it. On Kickstarter, the place where this becomes an issue is more video games, where production costs can run up, even from what they thought at the beginning. Even if they get a couple million on Kickstarter, that may not even be close to actually finishing a video game, and then you could just end up not getting anything. So it's a little safer with board games, but it is a con that theoretically that can happen. So
but
buyer beware is kind of unfortunately the
9 for 9 though.
And so far the rest of them all look on track to be coming. So we've kind of touched on this when we're talking about the Kickstarter stuff, but the Kickstarter isn't set up for this physical delivery stuff apparently. So you've got to make sure that you watch for that email when it says, hey, send us what your address is and stuff, and do the finalizing of your order. Otherwise you won't get sent anything. And they won't really notice, because they're probably got thousands of people on their list or whatever. So they won't see one or two people that don't get, they won't know why you're not signing it up. So you definitely have to make sure that you're watching that. And it feels weird that Kickstarter hasn't changed and made this all on their site.
And to be clear, we haven't made a Kickstarter board game. So we don't really know what Kickstarter offers, but everyone sends out these surveys and they're always outside of Kickstarter.
They're always outside of Kickstarter. So we're not sure. It just seems like Kickstarter probably doesn't have this as an option, but but we don't know. But either way, it's something you got to watch out for.
Yeah, for sure. And then beyond that, you will pay when the Kickstarter closes. And then because it's a physical object, you'll have to pay shipping once it's ready to ship.
I'm not the one that's been on that side of the payment. My wife takes care of that.
That's right.
But my understanding is most or all of them will require a second payment for the shipping. And that could be. I've heard a couple of. We've not had an issue with it being a real problem, but a couple of board games where people complained, hey, the price went up a whole lot from what you were originally said, because like the cost of shipping in the last couple of years has had some highs and lows and stuff like that. So you kind of got to watch that. That could be an issue.
Again, like we live in continental USA. Every time we've paid the shipping, I don't feel like it's been astronomical for me. I think it normally comes into like $10 to $15, depending on how big the board game is.
Which is what you'd pay for shipping. Like,
yeah,
it's reasonable for shipping.
Yeah. So
it's not
I think
free Amazon shipping.
No.
If you have Amazon Prime or anything, but yeah, it's what you'd given. I mean, we've done stuff on eBay and sent stuff out that's well
For
within
sure,
reason at that price.
But like if you're in Canada or overseas and stuff, that could be way more, depending where they're shipping from.
Most of them, I shouldn't say that because some of these are smaller companies that won't have that, but some of them that were where they've been real open in where they're shipping to literally have shipping from those countries.
That's true.
So hopefully it's not so bad, but yeah, we can't really comment on that much.
Fair. But now that we talked about the sad parts of Kickstartering, let's talk about the good parts. First is generally...
I think you missed one. You missed, they keep sending you advertisements on Facebook and you might get roped into buying more Kickstarters than you probably should in a year.
That's not a negative.
Oh, it's not a negative? Is that in the positive?
That's in the tips.
Oh, tips? Okay. Well, we'll get to that then.
Generally, you're going to get these games for cheaper than if they were in store.
Yeah, even if all you bought was the base box, a lot of times it'll be cheaper by 10 to 20% probably than if you bought it off the shelf.
We were just talking before we were recording. One of the games we backed was Valor and Villainy. The box is huge. It has 3D printed figures. Some have interchangeable like pieces and whatnot. And like if you were to buy this in a store now, easily like $150 game.
Yeah, probably.
And we paid $90 to back it. So that won't be as drastic for every game.
Yeah, it'll be different from game to game,
but often it will be cheaper.
Generally, it's cheaper.
Another thing is it may literally be the only way to get the game.
Yeah, I wasn't sure if that was going to be in tips. We've run into a couple of games like this where either the original game company is no longer in existence and so the game's out of print, or the company that makes the game is like a small out of their garage shop basically and can't produce a large enough number to go on Target shelves or even maybe your local game store for the most part.
Yeah.
And so what they do is for the old out of print games, they buy up the license and make it themselves. And then they only run runs on Kickstarter.
Yep.
An example that we had and we had the review for it was Grindhouse.
Yep.
You may be able to find it on shelves, but again, that's because some of them do retailer runs. But otherwise, the only place you can get it is looks like they do a yearly run on Kickstarter with like a new expansion every year. And that's basically the only way to get the game. And there's a number of games that are like that where they only run them on Kickstarter because they can then guarantee that they got the money to produce the game and make a profit rather than if you're a small shop, if you produced a bunch of games and then they didn't sell, you'd be at a big loss. So that's where the way a lot of these, not a lot, but some of these games companies run. And so this is the only way to get some of them.
Yeah. Another positive is it's kind of exciting to go through the process as you get the updates and all that. Seeing the board game get made, it's an exciting process. Yeah,
especially for the companies that do update once a month or a couple times a month and show you kind of where they are, and they'll show you their like, oh, we've got these pre-production wooden miniatures that we're adding to the thing and stuff like that. It's kind of
we're currently we haven't received it, but we're backing it. I'm going to forget the name, but it's by the Flamecraft people. It's like Critter Chefs or something. I don't know. But they're doing a lot with community engagement and like they have little puzzles. And if you solve them, you can get these like cookie cutters.
Yeah.
They have like surveys of like which chef would you rather be the next one released and things like that. So not only do you get to see the process, sometimes you get to be a part of the process.
We are kickstarting the newest expansion to Dog Parks.
Yes.
And part of the process, Dog Parks is a game that's already out.
Yes.
This Kickstarter adds a new expansion, so we get the base game and the expansion and then some deluxe stuff. But part of the thing that they did with that was they ran a contest, and now they have the ability to put your dog's picture as one of the cards. So if you won the contest, I think they were 7 or 12 cards.
I think so.
People get to have their own dogs in the thing, and they're looking into making that an option for just people. I don't know how much that might cost if they end up being able to do it. But yeah, I mean, sometimes there are really neat things like that.
Yeah. It may be the only way to get the deluxe edition.
Yeah. Honestly, it probably is the only way to get the deluxe edition. Now, of course, some of these games they'll show up on eBay.
Oh, for sure.
So you'll be able to see even if they only have a Kickstarter option for the base game, maybe that's a way to get it. Some of them might show up, even the deluxe editions on your local game store shelves. We've seen that on occasion, but it's pretty rare. But yeah, if you want the deluxe edition, this is going to be the best way to get it.
Yeah.
Because the outside of the Kickstarter, the chances of you finding that are actually pretty slim,
difficult,
especially if you want to get it at a reasonable price.
Yep. Again, it's likely going to be cheaper than if you do get it at a game store.
It could be real expensive even if you find it.
Yeah. Another neat thing about it is if you want, there's community pages, the Discords and whatnot, people getting excited about the game, talking about it, maybe even sharing their experience playing it if they've done it at those conventions. And we're a big supporter of games creating community. Yeah. And so that's a really neat way to like engage with people who have similar interests as you.
Yep. We certainly listed as a pro that this is a good way to back smaller developers, mom and pop shops and people doing stuff essentially out of their garage. We kind of hoped maybe put together a board game ourselves at some point in the future. And this is a great way to support people like that. You can be kind of part of the community as the game grows and stuff, but also this is a way to get the game and ensure that they get paid and are successful.
Yeah, for sure. Kind of going off of that, we didn't write it down, but once you've backed a game by a maker, a lot of times you'll continue to get like notifications about new games they're releasing. One of our favorite games is my father's work, and Renegade Games continuously lets us know what else they're coming up with, which is great for both the game company. They now have a email list of people who like their game.
Waiting for more of those expansions for that game.
Yes, absolutely. But if you found a game in a game company that you like, now you're kind of in the inside loop of.
Well, the Flamecraft thing is a good example. Is we were quickly advertised for the restaurants game that they're putting out, and it looks we're excited for it.
Again, another game that I just would have gotten on the yard alone, but. Now, maybe we've convinced you with our pros list, or maybe you're still a little hesitant with our cons list. We do have a handful of tips if you're considering kickstarting a game. The first is more of a warning. If you so much as look at a Kickstarter game, not even if you back it, your Facebook and likely other social medias will let you know anytime Kickstarter has a game that somewhat meets that.
Yeah, Facebook seems to be the worst for
sure.
Than any other site that I'm on. But you'll get a lot of advertisements for more Kickstarter games that you might be interested in.
And if you have set a Kickstarter budget for the year,
you should do that.
It can be a real detriment to meeting that Kickstarter budget.
Yep.
I think we will have doubled our 500 Kickstarter budget.
I think that's fair to say.
Because they said, Grace, we know you.
Yeah.
We know what you want to see.
Some really exciting games.
Oh my God, they're so exciting. It was so hard. So one of the ones we backed was Stone Saga.
Yeah.
And we both saw it separately, and it was so expensive.
And that's the one that's going to be 2 years.
2 years, yeah.
Would be my guess.
But I'm still very excited for it. So again, that could be a con, because if you don't want to spend all your money on Kickstarter,
or you have impulse control issues, or
then that is a detriment.
Yeah.
But again, if you're looking for more ways to find games you like and are interested in,
exciting new games,
maybe games that are new and you've never heard of, great way.
If the camera could turn around, you could see Raising Robots, which is one of our Kickstarter games that we are pretty much obsessed with right now. It's so good.
It is so good. Again, would have gotten it for the art alone. The robots are so cute.
Yeah. Watch for that review.
It's coming.
That'll be coming.
As you're going through the Kickstarter page, look for the videos, look for the rule pages, see if they have a tabletop simulator.
Yeah, it is definitely a thing that we've, especially going through this, but even kind of before, it's always great to be able to play a board game before you go to buy it.
For sure. They're an investment, for sure.
They're not the cheapest things, and especially nowadays, $50 tends to be the bottom price for a lot of games, and It's easy to go upwards to $100, and now it's super easy to go well above $100 for some really fancy stuff. And some of those games you're not going to enjoy, and if you spend that much sight unseen, you can't return the Kickstarter games. You might be able to eBay them, and you might be able to eBay them more than what you paid for if they're popular. But that's always going to be that's always going to be taking a chance. Try to do what you can to make sure that it seems like a game that you're probably going to like. Yeah,
especially if it's a bigger financial commitment.
Especially if it's a bigger financial one. Yeah, we've been, I feel, pretty lucky.
Oh, for sure.
But also pretty careful in the games that we're looking at. But do make sure you watch if they've got videos on how the game plays. Watch those. If they have an explanation of how the rules work, read through it.
Or have your rules lawyer friend look through it.
Yep, sure. There've been a number where this looks neat and the pieces look cool, and then I've read through it and I'm like, I don't. Yeah, I'm not sure this is going to be the game for us.
And I always trust Scott.
and so we haven't kickstarted those. But be careful.
Yeah. Going off of that,
do your research.
For sure.
Maybe that's what we should say.
I do want to highlight, while there are a lot of like bigger financial commitment games on Kickstarter, there are a lot of like cheaper games.
Yeah.
Hidden Leaders, the one that I was bad and didn't complete the backer survey on, that was a $20 back.
Yeah.
The Rhodes games, two of which we reviewed during Spooktober, all three of those games were, I think, a $30 back. So you can find cheaper and fun games. Yeah. But it's all, again, making sure you're reading through stuff and doing what's reasonable for your budget.
Right.
Watch your email.
Yep.
Don't just let your email build and assume you did the things you had to do.
Keep an eye out on the Kickstarter site, because they usually tell you, especially for the backer survey, that it's coming. They'll usually send a few updates after that to say, hey, make sure you've looked for your backer survey. Yeah. So make sure you're watching for that, and then watch your email.
Yeah. And all game makers are different, but I have never had one where if I went back and been like, hey, I think I completed this, because I have done that a lot. Can you check for me? Most of the time they're very willing.
Yeah.
Even if they won't check if it's completed, they'll resend the link. And if you did do it, then you'll see all your stuff in there. Right. But so even if you forgot, you can go back and check. Go deluxe.
Yeah. We've not. So some games won't have a deluxe version.
No, some won't.
It's rare at this point, but some of the smaller games especially won't have that. The Rhodes games is a good example. The Rhodes games were just what they were.
Yeah.
We have only regretted when we've not gotten the deluxe version.
Oh my God, I know.
Not maybe the big, all the bells and whistles of a bunch of extra stuff. But the deluxe version off the basic one, we've only ever regretted not getting those. And it's only been a couple that we've done that with, and we've stopped doing that. If at this point we've looked at it, and if we're not going to get the deluxe version of the Kickstarter, we probably aren't going to get the Kickstarter. The upgrade from just the little cardboard pieces to wooden tokens is great. And
sometimes they'll have metal coins, which is lovely.
Metal coins, better boards, better art. Like it is.
Box organizers
for some of them. It is, our experience has been, it's well worth getting the deluxe version. But I mean, not dropping the deluxe version thing, it's also probably the only way you're going to get that deluxe option. You're probably not going to find it in stores. We've seen some, but it's really, really rare.
Yeah.
You may be able to get them on eBay, but at a price that is going to be a lot higher than that Kickstarter. And if the game ends up being one of your favorite games, you'll never regret having upgraded pieces.
For sure.
You just won't. It'll always be, oh, I got this. We got our probably my favorite, or certainly top 5, My Father's Work. We got the deluxe version, and
so
never regret pulling that game out and playing with the really fancy
figures,
pieces for it.
Contrast painted.
It was, for a deluxe version, is currently my favorite deluxe version of any of the games we got. Just make sure you get that deluxe version.
And the last thing, it kind of goes with our emails and all that, but check your Kickstarter monthly. You're not like us and you don't have several Kickstarters going on. It's really easy to just kind of forget Kickstarter exists.
Yeah.
And you'll miss both the updates and maybe even some important stuff you should do.
Yeah.
Final thoughts?
We covered a lot of stuff in this. Final thoughts are, it is, while it is tempting to purchase all of the Kickstarter games that you come across your social media and stuff, it is a good way to get some interesting, fun games that you might not have seen otherwise. It's a good way to support these smaller companies that in decades past probably wouldn't have been successful, probably wouldn't have ever gotten a game out there.
Maybe only their regional area would ever see their game.
It is. It has been a journey and a pleasure to have seen the way that board games have evolved from when I was a kid to where they are now. And honestly, like, as much as in the video game aspect, I don't like Kickstarter. I think Kickstarter has helped board games flourish. If you go to your local game store, you will see a myriad of weird and different and exciting board games that I couldn't have even imagined when I was a kid. If you go to Target, you will see a lot of these games now. Quacks of Quinlanburg you can get from Target. It is a golden age for board games. And honestly, I kind of thought it was going to settle down like in the last 5 years, and it really hasn't.
If anything, it's gotten bigger.
If anything, it has gotten bigger. And Kickstarter is I think, a big part of that and is a good way to get in on some of these really exciting games. And if not here, then go to your local game store and support games, purchase games there and support it, or ask them if they're going to get a game that you saw on Kickstarter. Is a good way to support both then that company and your local game store. So I mean, that's kind of my final things. Is it's a great time to be in the board game fandom and enjoying these things.
Yeah, I mean, I completely just mirror everything you said. About the only thing like I would add is just like, do it.
Just do it.
Just do it.
Try one. Maybe a cheaper one.
Maybe a cheaper one. About the only way I would discourage someone going this path is if you really do have that kind of like impulsy, don't want to wait that long. If that is who you are, totally fine. Don't do it.
Go to your local game store and buy something interesting there.
That's right.
They have plenty of interesting games, I assure you.
But anyone else, at least give it a try. I think you'll find it a fun and exciting experience.
Yeah.
Otherwise, we wouldn't have done it 17 times.
Yep.
If there's nothing else, we'll see you next time.
Like and subscribe. That's something else. Hit that notification bell. Up in the corners here or to the side, you've got more things you can click on. We've got other games and reviews and walkthroughs on our site. So enjoy those.
What he said.